Well, welcome everybody. Let's go ahead and start with our agenda tonight. Barb just welcomed us all. Delane is coming. He's just running a little bit late, but he would also welcome you as well. First thing we'd like to talk about tonight, just to inform you, and we want to invite you as regional leaders to participate in the NBEA online community, okay? And I believe that this online community is probably one of the most important things that NBEA has done in years. And it's a failure is not an option. We are going to succeed with this, and we have a really awesome vision. And we're here tonight to talk about what that is, just briefly share with you, and hopefully get your input and buy-in and your participation in this new community platform. So let me bring up the website that we have here. The first thing, if the online community was supported by Certiport. Jennifer Stubblefield's here tonight, former teacher from Murray Schools. She now works for Certiport, and I just really want to thank Certiport. Certiport donated about $20,000 to help us fund that, with the condition they don't have editorial rights. We don't put up competing ads. As in fact, there's going to be no ads, blatant ads on this platform. You're going to probably see when you log into the community that you're going to see, in partnership with Certiport. It's important that you realize that that's just there. If you want to participate, here's how you do it. The first thing is go to nbea.org, update me. I'll put a link in a minute in the chat. And these two systems work together. So when you log into the NBEA system, update your profile, and then log into the NBEA community, and this new platform will pull over your data. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? It'll pull over your data from the NBEA site, and I better bring this up, and it'll pull over your data, and you will be able then to I'm sorry, I had this buzzing here that's pretty bad, but I'm going to have to look past it. I know you probably can't hear it. So once you log in, and you can participate in the community. I'm logged in right now as an admin, but you wouldn't see this little panel, but you can go to the general free area. And if you're a member, like most of you are, you can participate in any of these channels. The general free channel is designed to be free for everybody, okay? Regardless of whether you have a membership in NBEA or not. This is going to be probably a lot like what you consider the Facebook educators page. How many of you are familiar with the Facebook educators group? Business educators group? Sure. Now, that has a place, and they have done a wonderful job of creating that community. So there is I applaud them for that effort. What NBEA wants to do is take that up a notch, and I'm hopeful that we can do that. And what that means is this: staff and certain volunteers, and eventually some paid people, will moderate and curate what goes on in this community. So for example, we have some things down here. We have some things like supply chain. Does anyone teach supply chain? And there's going to be responses to that as time goes on. What we'd like to do is curate that to where we pull those resources together into a product where we can, and then actually archive those, because we all know what happens in Facebook. A lot of times those activities, they get posted and then they fade away like a mist into history. What we want to do is archive those and develop, imagine a set of folders, and there's a folder for each one of our major NBEA standard categories. So there's going to be a folder for information technology, a folder for management, a folder for entrepreneurship, a folder, and it's going to say essentially have resources that are cataloged by the NBEA standard. So if you want to know how to teach something on a specific standard, you go to NBEA standard first, then you can go to the resource catalog and look and see what those aligned activities are. That's the long-term vision. We just started to accumulate resources for this new library, and the actual folders aren't out there yet. we have to begin to produce that data and to begin to essentially curate it through this public collaboration. So that's going to be the big thing. It's not going to be, I hear a lot of complaints about other platforms that say, well, hey, it's low quality, or, it's not checked. Well, that's what we hope to do, to curate, to take this up to the next level. So that's really, we are about, to be honest with you, we're about 10 years late on this. Okay. And, but at the same time, there's no time. We've got to do something like this. This is a board strategic plan item. And the reason that this is on the strategic plan is because what we wanted to do is NBEA's business education, our offerings, we need to deepen the level and the thoroughness of what we offer to the business education community by the verticals that we serve. Our standard identifies 10 different verticals, as you all know. Well, the only way to provide depth into those verticals, because the business education forum's not going to do it. It's not the right platform. As good as that magazine is, we can't hit all 10 every time in balance and hit the demand. How do we do that? We develop a community where we turn our members loose to be the other members' best resource. And that way we'll provide depth into each one of the 10 categories that we define in business and include in business education. So keep that in mind. So that's the goal. So our goal right now is just to get our leaders to participate. This has not been made public. You're not going to see it in newsletters. You're not going to see it really on our main website. We're not going to put it there. What we're doing is trying to grow it organically outward. And we have a committee called the Community Task Force, and they're kind of overseeing this. And what we have to do is hit so many threads that are quality before we roll it out to the next group. However, at this time, we want to open it up to our state and regional leaders so they can contribute to it. Now, when you log in, don't say, well, there's nothing here that I like. We understand that at this juncture, but we're crowdsourcing this and we want this to go viral. We want it, anything that you post up there is appreciated, whether it be a resource, whether it be a question, anything like that that you can contribute to this platform. We want to, if it's a complaint, if it's a praise, whatever it may be, we want to promote that type of activity. Another thing to pull people in is we wanted to develop, I might have to refresh here just one moment because I've logged out. We have a video explaining how to use the system if you want to, but I'm going to log in. I'm going to show you two other things really quickly. One we just put up today, and it's a course. You can actually put little, and they're not really courses. We're teachers, we're professional instructional designers. I know it's not a true course, but it's essentially a pathway. And we actually had a consultant come in and we looked at all the things that we could do for professional development. And two of the things that our research said is teachers need leadership skills and self-care. I know those are kind of divergent, but we came together and we put together a course, and it's all about leadership and self-care. And you can take that as a member for free. And the curriculum involves understanding yourself through the 5 voices or personality types, developing resilience, using these methods to develop peace and prioritize, self-preservation, the X factor, learning to prioritize. And they're all done by a guy named Scott Waldron, who's worked for JP Morgan Chase and a number of other Coca-Cola and a lot of other groups. So what we wanted to do is just make this available so people could come in and take it at their leisure. They can look at it, they can browse it. You don't have to watch the videos. The videos are great. They're only about 20 minutes per segment, maybe 15. So they're short snippets, or you can just download the book, just look at the PDFs that come along with it. You have an infographic, you have leadership insights, and a discussion guide. Eventually, based upon how we think this will go, we may organize some webinars that discuss these concepts as well. So we would love for you all to go in and start participating in the community. Please do. It would be helpful. I want to thank Michael, who has been just awesome. Carol, Michael, you have posted some really great questions. Carol, thank you for posting. Benita's posted, Delaine's posted. And Jennifer Stubblefield posted some great resources today. Thank you to all of you who have contributed to that effort. This is probably one of the biggest things NBEA has done in a while, and it's super important that we use this to help develop the relationships that we have amongst one another in the business education community. So that's the online community. Any questions about the, oh, one other thing. In courses, we are going to design a board member training course, okay? When we look at our states, we see a lot of, let's say, less than desirable practices. For example, last week, I wrote a check to a state, or NBEA wrote a check to a state for something. And when we wrote the check, they asked us to write the check to an individual, and then they would deposit it in whatever account and give it to the organization. That is terrible practice. That is embezzlement waiting to happen. Now, I'm not saying that person is an embezzler. What I'm saying is that is incredibly poor fiduciary. That is just asking for trouble. And so NBEA, and that's a big state too, by the way, the state that we wrote that check to, it's a big state organization. We should never have things like that happening in the business education community, in the associations. So NBEA, we want to train our board members, and it's probably within the next few weeks, whether you're a state leader or you're a regional leader, we're going to have a short kind of self-paced asynchronous program that you can go through, and you can be trained. There's some workbooks that you can go through. There'll be a video or two on fiduciary responsibility and how to be a great board member. And so that's free to any NBEA member who's a leader in a state association. NBEA wants to provide that type of leadership. Also, we understand a couple other things. Most of our state associations don't have staff. And so we get that. So we're going to try to customize this program to where we don't go into a lot of deep things that associations have to do when you have, say, 40,000 members. We don't, you don't. Let's make this relevant to our group. But this is going to be free to everybody here. And this is part of the commitment that NBEA has toward our state organizations. So that's going to be right here in the courses a little bit later. And what we hope are these courses will draw people in to the community. Are there any questions about the community right now? I'm looking here again. I'm just going to, for the first time, go to our chat. Jody says, that's fantastic. Love to see what we're doing here. That's great. Thanks, Jody. What's the link again? Yeah, so I'm going to put right here. The first thing we would suggest you do is go to http://nbea.org/update me. We created that. That's just the easy link to get to your profile. You can go to NBEA and just log in and click profile. There's 100 ways to do it, just like everything on a computer, but that's the easy link. And then once you update your profile, put a picture up, things like that, you go to http://community.nbea.org. Okay. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, we have a whole set of directions there. You have a brand new video that I just showed before most everybody came on. So that's also good. We'll be promoting that a little bit later. Any other questions? To practice? Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. That gives me high blood pressure. Just think, oh, I don't know what that is. Jennifer, what gives you high blood pressure? Okay, maybe she's passed out.
I think the check. I think the check to the individual.
Oh, the check to the individual.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
right.
what it was, and that's what my comment was too. That we need to make sure that we practice what we preach. Yes, about
this is why in a class you need people monitoring the chat. Teachers can't do it.
So, yeah, I agree.
I cannot tell them to do that. Jody Adams is on here too. I'm sure she's passed out on the floor thinking about KBEA doing that. So no. So Joe, you're right. There's a lot of training needed, and I'm glad to hear this is coming. This, like you said, a lot of this is 10 years too late. So excited.
Well, thank you. So here we've got Jane just joined, by the way. It looks like Jane just got on a few minutes ago. So there we go. Jane joined in since we've been talking. So great. So anyway.
And Joe, Chris has a question on the chat room.
Sure.
So we don't want, Chris says, so we don't want to share this yet with our members.
Not yet.
That's a question. Okay.
Now, let me say this to Chris. If there's another person that you know, like some of your leaders that would like to participate, and they're not going to give us a hard time for not having 40,000 posts, give it to them. Tell them what to do. You can send them to the YouTube page, send them the video. I can send you the video with the instructions here in just a second. Go right ahead. But it's for a select group, because when we blast this out, when we grow all the digital marketing data on online communities, clearly says, grow it organically. Don't just blast it out and hope people participate. So what we want to do is grow it. We also want to ask value-added questions if we can. So some of these things are really interesting. I am learning a ton. I try to contribute as well and try to spend some time doing it. We really need you to do that as well to give birth to this new community. I think it's going to be one of the main staples that why people will want to be an NBEA member over time. But again, even if they don't, if they don't want to be a member, they can just go to our site and register as a guest and then log in, and they can participate in only this general free channel. The rest of you who are members can participate in all of these. National Business Honor Society is going to have a whole group. They have over 100 people will probably join that, maybe 150 that'll join that. They're just sponsors of the NBHS chapters. So that's something that we hope to do, and that's going to be launched probably in the next few days. But anyway, just a little bit. Any other questions about the community? So no, don't announce it yet. What we want to do is we're slowly growing it out, announcing it to people like you. And when we hit certain metrics, we would imagine by December that maybe even January is when we really start to promote it heavily. Okay. So, but that's between now and then, we want a vibrant community when people show up. That's the big deal. All right. Okay, so that answers that. If there's any other questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the chat. Let's go ahead and continue with got some more to say about this in just a minute. Free board training, a leadership self-care program. One other thing. Okay, NBEA we're trying different things to see what works best. We just paid a professional designer to create 8 accounting lessons for us that pertain to the most obscure standards that we have, the ones that teachers may not get in a textbook, okay? So we paid a company to do that, and they developed pretty good lesson plans. I mean, I am thrilled with the activities that came out of that because we paid handsomely to do it. We don't want to sustain that. Now we know what's possible. We know what professionals can do. We know what a company can do. But now we want to try outsourcing this to our teachers. So what we're going to do is try this for a little while, and I'm not sure of the results. Teachers obviously don't make a lot of money. NBEA doesn't have a lot of money either, but we have some budget to feed this community program and resource library. What we're going to do is you're going to begin to start to see us call for teachers who want to make about $50 a lesson or activity that they send us. Now, the activity needs to meet certain standards. They need to follow a template that we provide so quality and consistency is maintained. But if they submit a great lesson that clearly complies with one of our standards, we will pay them $50 for that lesson, okay? Now, a teacher who does it right could make some good money doing that on the side, and that's a good thing. The rights come to us, however, and you have to be free of licensing and other copyright considerations. So what we're trying to do is instead of just, we've seen what the professionals can do now. Now we want to turn and we want to go to another group of professionals, which is our teachers, and try paying them per lesson and see if we can't get these activities that coincide with our standard. We'll have samples and all of that. If any of you are interested in doing that and authoring some activities for us that comply with the standard, reach out to me at joe@nbea.org. You may see this. You may see this as a part of our future advertisements. I'm not sure. It just depends on the quality and the people who want to do this and have a passion for it. But that's going to be open. That opportunity is going to be there if you would like to contribute lessons and activities. We'd probably do one first so we can make sure that it's the quality. And I'm probably going to have a small group of people. They'll actually judge it and make sure it's acceptable or not. It won't be just me. It'll be your members. And they'll say, yes, we can take this, or no, it's not up to what we would like to put online for our teachers and our resources. That's the difference between us and a Facebook page. We want higher quality consistency. So that's what we're shooting for. Okay. All right. Quickly. Okay. So that's coming. If you're interested in that, would love to talk with you more, set up a meeting. I'll drop you if you want to talk to me offline, you can set up a calendar event with me immediately. I'll drop that in the line here in fact, I'll do it right at this moment. If you want an appointment, I'd love to talk with you. You can schedule a time at your convenience. And of course, the link doesn't carry over. So we have to go here. We go. There we go. There's the link that will go. Okay, next, a couple of quick things for you. I don't know how many of you know Dr. Kevin Lehman. He will be our speaker, our keynote. He's been on Good Morning America. He was the child psychologist, the school psychologist for Good Morning America. He's been on Fox News, CNN. He's written a number of New York Times bestselling books, including Have a New Kid by Friday. And he's going to be at our conference this year. He's one of the most substantive people we could get for being an educational speaker. He's hilarious and he's great. Also, at the request and the reference of our Mountain Plains folks, hi Mountain Plains. Mountain Plains folks recommended Dustin Galen. We're going to have him as a keynote as well. So this year is actually going to have 2 keynote speakers, and we'll probably cancel one session of 3 or 4 other tracks so we can make sure we have a higher standard for tracks this year. So that's going to be something that's going to be good as well. So we'll 2024, I have the contract in my box right now. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is for 2024. If you don't like we're going to be a block or 2 from the beach, which is really nice. Won't go too much more into that at this juncture. If you don't like the beach, it wasn't my decision. Okay. If you like the beach, I had input. Okay. So we're going to have a reception on the beach, but it's in a clubhouse that's on the beach, that's nice and air conditioned, and it's nice and air conditioned so you can enjoy the air conditioning, or you can go out on the beach. And so we're going to have a whole beach theme, probably give you a towel with NBEA's logo on and all that good things for 2025. So just giving you an update on that. It'll be the same time. We can't get away, unfortunately, from that pre-Easter week because not of us, staff would do anything that our members want, but that time is pretty set in history and people just know when it is. Very difficult to get away from that. Membership. Okay. I'll come back to this in just a moment. Let's see. Affiliate Plus states. Let me do this. Membership counts. If you don't know how many members your state has, you can come to nbea.org. If you're not familiar, click members only once you log in. This menu won't show up unless you log in, and then click affiliate association information. And you can log in, and this tells you all about Affiliate Plus associations, and it also gives you your membership counts, okay? Now, I'm excited about what's in the future for NBEA, but I need to also just be realistic with you. I mean, you are our stakeholders. I know all of you online care about this association, and you need to also hear the real picture. Our membership, despite all the efforts, we hope that this community platform and others will draw members, but our membership is still lethargic. I just got back with meeting with 40 other associations in the education industry. It's a part of the group called the Trust for Ensuring Educators. And let me tell you, we're not alone, okay? Out of the other 60 we have huge similarities. I haven't even shared this, Delane, Barb, I haven't even shared this with you yet because I haven't had the opportunity because I just got back from that meeting. But I was able to compare and contrast NBEA with other associations. And there are some staggering similarities. National associations across the board, for the most part, have lost their relevance, and members are lost relevance. I shouldn't lost all relevance, but they've lost members. It's amazing. NBEA's membership continues to be lethargic. So when we look at just like this last month, as of today, you know, SBEA last month lost 6% of its members. We see NCBEA lost 5% of its members. Mountain Plains lost 1%, and WBEA gained 1%, up to about 207 people. And then you have the Eastern region was up 1%. These are just lethargic numbers. So what do we do about it? What do we do about it? And we've talked about this long and hard. Here's the bottom line. The NBEA Board of Directors has put forward a strategic plan that calls for change in the areas of restructuring. One of the major areas of restructure, and we'll say it again, regions, we need regions to reach out to states to help them. We have states that do literally nothing, and they don't know what to do, and they're essentially, they suffer from leadership issues. And it's almost 100% of the time that's the case, because it's not a matter of them doing things and not working. It's a matter of they don't do anything, or they talk about it, but they don't do it. And and really the state associations, here's a recipe for your success, we believe. A, be consistent and be relevant, highly relevant and consistent and relevant. Consistency and relevancy are your keys. Do something that people can't get anywhere else, and then engage your members consistently. And we don't see that happening. We don't see relationships. Michael, I give you applaud you for New York. Here we have actually a New York State Department of Education person online with us tonight. I applaud you, because you and the New York Business Educator Associations need to work together hand in glove. And I have seen that happen. And I see that happening in the best, most active states. So that's a great thing that I just want to applaud you on, and others as well. There's others that may be here, so keep that in mind. Here's the bottom line, and we want to be positive. We have a positive vision, and we do think things will change. We are optimistic. If they don't, in about 4 to 6 years, you won't have a national association. I just need to tell you that now, so you can't ever say you weren't told. So what that means is we need to change faster rather than slower. In most cases, there's not anything to be afraid of. We've lost so many members, we bottomed out, we have started to come back at some, but it's slow and arduous. If there's anything you think we can do to support that, support the vision of the board and their restructure plan. We really think that'll help. If you want to talk about that, Delane will be glad to meet with you. Barb will be glad to meet with you. I'll be glad to meet with you and kind of walk you through what the vision is for that. There are some states that have already adopted it. The latest one, Ohio's board voted to adopt Affiliate Plus. They're going to be coming on board. They have to cross a few checks with their members, evidently, and their bylaws, but that should be happening soon, I'm told. North Dakota, Nevada, we're going to be serving those. And what is an Affiliate Plus? Associations, a state that formalizes a relationship with NBEA that does one or more of the following: collect your dues, provides a website, membership reports, marketing and meeting assistance. All that's essentially to say NBEA helps you run your association in a really responsible way. And so you don't have to depend on volunteers, and you can get back to business, which is business education, not websites, not dues collection, and things like that. If you're interested in that, we'd be happy to talk and set up a meeting. Now, enough of me speaking. What I'd like to talk about tonight now is to kind of turn, because I know there's positive things happening out there. So really, here's one of 3 questions that I'll put in the chat. And one of 3 questions are, what victories or accomplishments has your association in your state made in the past 6 months? What ideas have you seen that seem to be working in regard to your association, or things that are really positive? And what other trends are you identifying now in business education? This is critical. So I'd like to spend the remainder of our time discussing these things and answering any other questions that you may have looking back in retrospect. So I'll give you a moment to think about these things.
Joe, one thing I saw on the networking, on the communication, was about the social emotional learning, the teaching of that. I think that's probably going to become more and more common. And even if it's not as a course, it's going to be something that business educators have to deal with more than they do now. And so it seems like having the speaker that we're having for NBEA, Dr. Lehman, it's kind of a good fit for something like that. It's just a good start.
Is anybody else seeing? I think Ann Kaiser from Pennsylvania posted that. She was talking about she's teaching an SEL, and I had to go look up what that even meant. That tells you I've been out for a little while at the classroom. Any of you other have any experience with SEL courses and the instructional design components of that?
No, but I just know that my students have drastic SEL needs, so.
That's my point. That's kind of my point. Yeah.
Right.
Whether we see it in a course or not, it's going to be more that I think teachers are going to have to deal with that. And they're going to need, that's a tough one. I hadn't put this in the community, but I was thinking local Department of Social Services and things of that nature may be a good resource. I don't know. I'd have to check that out, but that was a thought I had.
If you have comments on this afterwards, you can always put it in the community as well. Okay, yeah, so it's woven throughout our teacher prep program for occupational based teachers. Thanks, Jody. Other trends or things that you've seen working well. SEL, I see Alicia. Alicia, I become a certified facilitator in SEL course through AEA. Alicia, tell us a little bit about your certification and maybe some of the curriculum or a little bit perhaps of the outline and things that you had to do that would be involved with that.
Hello, greetings everyone. Sorry my camera's off. I'm at football practice with my son. But the Alabama Education Association, which is a state affiliate along with the National Education Association, they asked would anybody be interested in becoming a facilitator for SEL because it's so prevalent because of like COVID and some of the things that we have gone through in this and just the times that we're in with education overall. And so there was a series of courses that I had, well, it was one course with different modules and there were videos tied to it. And there was different scenarios, how you would handle certain situations with the type of children and adults that will be in a particular school district. And so there were a series of courses. And so it was about a 6-week course. And so I had to come up with like a lesson plan, a syllabus, different activities that I would implement based on the courses and the modules as an overall collective, kind of see if I understood what was being presented. And so I can kind of share that with you all, or you, Joe, to kind of see if that's something that we may want to try to spearhead or kind of facilitate for NBEA.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd also love for you to log in and answer Ann's question. Just post something in it for Ann. Ann is looking for guidance and resources in regard to that. And that's really what this community is designed to be. So Alicia, thank you for contributing that. Anyone else on social learning? Okay, other trends, accomplishments your associations have made. Michael, I would, you really provide great communications with your state. An idea that I think New York has had that I saw that really was neat is that you echo the state education association's newsletter. Thank you for doing that. I think that helps everybody communicate up and down the line. And can you tell me a little bit more about, your philosophy and being consistent with those types of communications and benefits that you've seen from that?
So it's, it's kind of a, long thing. So my role, I actually work for the state education department. I'm not directly a board member of our state organization, but I work very
Right.
closely with them. And believe it or not, when I was hired about 4 years ago, there was nobody in New York State Education Department for business education. So when I came back, I really kind of wanted to bring everybody back on board because, we were battered for a long time, by budget cuts and the Great Recession and things of that nature. So I've been, really trying to, just kind of, as myself a state funded resource, kind of getting the word about things to everybody and, really kind of pushing, state and national things I know of out there so that people can kind of go to them and sign up, look at what they have, see if it's for them. And, I really kind of, because, we're kind of like, the people in the ivory castle who are perceived to really know nothing about what goes on the ground level. And I'd like to try to break that.
Well, you're doing a good job. I think the consistency and the communications that you're providing are grease to that whole system. So kudos to you and good job. Look forward to meeting you in New York at our symposium. That'll be a joy to see you there. All right. Anything else? Ideas that you've seen work, things that you see are encouraging? Are there other suggestions that our state leaders might like to make to national or other states, things that you have that, by the way, I'd like to share one. Jody Adams is online with us tonight. Now, this has changed in the last 2 weeks because we had a group from Kentucky. We used to have 40 people from Kentucky as members, but that NBEA did on December 10th, there were some terrible tornadoes and there were some business teachers and there were some students of business teachers affected. And NBEA just did a quick public service project for those people since we had such great members in Kentucky. And we came together and we gave away just $2,000 to several families associated with business education that lost everything. We had people on the ground that could confirm their claims and all of that. Jennifer Stubblefield was on the committee. Keith Hanna, president at the time, was on the committee. And they held Lori Hoff, our treasurer. They helped oversee where the money went. And did you know that during that period, for a time, just as a couple weeks ago, Kentucky's membership had doubled, and most of the money went to people in Kentucky because that's where most of the damage was. And I'd like to think that our focus on other people and on our teachers and on the needs of our students really help bolster that effort. I'm not saying we do it to gain members. I'm saying that I really appreciated Kentucky. Kentucky right now is down to about 60, but compared to what it used to be, and then just a few weeks ago, it was at 80. And I was like, oh, wow, So Jody, I don't know if you have anything to contribute to that. I know you're there at the state and we appreciate you so much. Anything to talk about there?
Well, that's always one of those tricky things because the altruism is not done to get members,
Right.
But we know the ROI. We're business teachers, right? So we get it. But the impact, there are no words. I mean, that was from a devastating situation to being able to really kind of rescue families. That's impactful on multiple levels. And so the more that as an association we can do to support events like that immediately with boots on the ground, the stronger we become as a group. And it resonates. And don't think that I didn't remind other associations in our state of what NBEA had done and leveraged it because, that's one of the main reasons that we belong to a group, right? Is so that we can be there for each other.
Right.
And this was a shining example. So it makes it a lot easier when we're talking about hey, you need to join this association, especially with new teachers. It's legit evidential reasons that we can share to join. So as a state and as a business ed advocate in the state, I just want to thank you all personally because it makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jennifer, just this is an issue. Now, turning back to the membership issue, we have 60 members that are members of the National Association, but there's 248 in the state right now that are members of KBEA. So what NBEA is trying to do with the restructure, again, is to help align national and align to create an ecosystem where there's coordination, not everybody for themselves. So that's what we're after. If you want more information, most of you have heard it. I know you have. You've been to our leadership conferences. You've been to our webinars and other events. So we'll spare you here. But thank you, Jennifer, for that, and thank you, Jody. All right. Any other? Anything else? Other trends in business education? Let me tell you one very quickly. We often wonder if there's a purpose for what we do. Let me give you a quick anecdote that's a little frustrating. I'm going to share it with you. There was a vendor who I won't name who contacted me about almost a year ago and asked me if he could become an associate member, which is, he said, sure. He did a webinar on something generic, and it was a good webinar. And he sent me a copy of his courses that he's producing in the field of entrepreneurship. And that's all I'll say. But I looked at the courses that he was producing as a company, and he thought they were the best things since sliced bread, and they weren't. I could go down the list and essentially say the assessments were weak, the delivery was weak, the content was way too general that you could get on inline any place. There was a lot of issues, and we didn't, we didn't really want to be associated with some type of marketing campaign, and that's why associate members have to be very careful what we do with them and how we do it. So he got frustrated, and he said, okay, well, I want to do something for the public good. I want to start an entrepreneurship Facebook group. And he did. And so he said, would you help us? It's for the public good. Anybody can post. We just want to help teachers. Now, when NBEA hears that from an associate member, we say, sure, we'd be happy to try to help with that. That was a mistake. Unfortunately, now a year later, he's grown the group to about 450, 500 people. And now he's booted us off the platform and now taken it and created his own competing association with NBEA that's going to serve teachers of entrepreneurship. So it's the new association. And it's really unfortunate because we talked to them. We said, hey, you can promote your business or get a reputation through NBEA, but he didn't do that. He went off and he created his own association. So there was a couple lessons that we learned from that. I informed our entrepreneurship task force that is supposed to deal with things like this. I informed them of what had happened. There is a place for an entrepreneurship group, sharing and information and collaboration. There is a huge place for it that's not centered around a vendor. This group's not a 501c. They're not accountable. They're booting off competition. They're not being transparent, and all the products that they produce, guess what, involve his products. And it's an associate. He's calling it an association. So we have to be very aware of where, and just kind of, that's about as deep as we'll go with the details. But at the same, you're not going to hear us trying to get revenge or anything like that. That's not what we do. But at the same time, it's frustrating because we're not going to help vendors like that anymore develop groups. We're going to do that ourselves on our new platform. And in some ways, we feel betrayed that they would go do that. And then when we say we're going to promote our new group, and then they boot us off. And when we helped them develop theirs, it turned out not to be a group for the public good. It turned out, or by teachers for teachers, it ended up being about a company. And that we have to watch out for and collectively be able to respond as a group. And the way you do that is to support the organizations that have transparency, that have a history of over 100 years. That's NBEA. And invest that energy into an organization that will withstand scrutiny and conflict of interest. Because right now that organization certainly doesn't. So keep that in mind. That's what's happening out there right now in our ecosystem. And it's but we've reached out to groups like Nifty, other nonprofits trying to coordinate something in the entrepreneurship world. I really hope that our new task forces can produce something there that can give us more direction. So keep that in mind, that we're working on that now. So that's a trend. We see this. We're seeing little bits and pieces. The little fish come in and try to. There are plenty of ways that we can be relevant as an association. That's why I know there's a good business model for what NBEA does. We just have to get all of our members on the same page. Any other questions about ideas or draw more members to your associations? Anything you want to recommend to NBEA? Or what other trends you're identifying now in business education? Or victories? Okay, well, I can see we're about 10 minutes before the hour. I don't want to delay the issue. What I'll do is stick around for a few minutes. We usually have some great discussion after everybody leaves and the recording stops. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And if those of you who are ready to call it a day,